Welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordyn here.
What's up?
Episode 34, 5 Ways to Know It's Time for a Transition.
I need this.
Yep.
I struggle hard with this
You
one.
really do struggle with transitions.
Oh, man.
You don't like them, you avoid them.
Oh, yeah. Big ones.
Yep.
For sure.
It's going to be a great topic because I think a lot of people do. And man, learning to navigate transitions is so key in every aspect of your life. So this will be a fun conversation. Before we do that, though, let's talk about favorite things.
I know. So we did this
segment,
I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago, and I loved it. And it was fun to hear from you guys, some of your favorite things, because you respond, you're like, oh, I've used that product or I've used that thing. So we're going to do it again. And it changes every month because, they should. So we're going to do our favorite book.
All right, favorite book.
Our favorite product, and then our favorite new discovery. Okay. So book, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go to it.
Okay.
I actually brought mine. It is called Younger Next Year.
Yep. You had a good friend give that to you.
Yeah, and it's awesome. And it is all about the subtitle: Live strong, fit, and sexy until you're 80 and beyond.
Oh my God.
Let's go.
It
is a phenomenal book. It's written by a doctor and his friend that he helped, and it's all about just a balance of just your diet, nutrition, and exercise, but down to the science of it. Yeah. And I love the idea of getting younger every year. I mean, obviously you're not, but that
I am.
Well, I do. I have big goals, and I'm not the youngest dad in the world. And one of the things I love about being a dad right now is I love that I can still compete with my boys, and that's a big part of what I do with the boys. Is we're always playing some sport together, and I want to be able to do this with Pepper, whatever her dang name's going to be, because it's important to me to stay active.
Yeah, and for yourself. I think your kids are a huge motivator, but you're just an active person in general, so I think that's going to be a really
I'm loving it so far.
And they have a female version of it too.
They did.
The guy that gave it to you. So that's geared towards men, and then there's the same, I think, similar title. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, mine, all my favorite things are going to be baby related. I'm very sorry. Mine is Moms on Call, Basic Baby Care. It is so good. So Moms on Call, it's these two nurses, or I guess
I think they are
They're
nurses.
2 pediatric nurses, and they're moms, and they have 20 years of experience and 8 children between them. Anyways, they have an Instagram that I initially started following, and they just have really practical, good tips, Moms on Call. And then my mom, conveniently, gifted me their book, and it's just so practical. It goes category by category, and it's not paragraph form. It's bulleted. It's here's what you do for their skincare. Here is what happens if they are constipated. Random things, but for a new mom. So shut up. For a new mom, it's just I don't know. It's things that I don't know, and sometimes you don't even know what to Google. So I really love that because it's helping me prepare mentally.
That's awesome. I would like to say something too. In the summer we have to dodge landscapers to record this podcast. We mow our grass, but most of the people around us do not. So they get their grass mowed during the middle of the day by landscapers. And now we have a new thing. Our neighbor all of a sudden is pressure washing his house, or having somebody pressure wash his house. So apologize if you hear that. We're not in a tornado.
We're fine. Everything's fine. Just high pressure water.
Okay, what's the next thing?
The next thing is your favorite product.
Oh, I brought it too. Here it is, right here. It's called Easy Off.
If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Easy Off, oven and grill cleaner. So I love.
This is not an ad.
I love having a clean, what would you call that? Stovetop. And what I was using has not been. I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but it wasn't working. I got this. It was maybe Lowe's.
I don't know.
Man, it's taken the toughest stains off. I do feel like I'm doing a commercial.
You're what's it, Billy Mays or something?
I love this stuff. I even love the smell of it.
Anyways, yeah, you love it.
Yep.
Easy Off, not an ad. Mine, a few weeks ago, I just bit the bullet through just peer pressure, kind of, not really. My mom and my brother and sister-in-law, they all have this vacuum, and I've like loved it forever. It's cordless, and it's like a not Bose, Dyson. I don't know.
Dyson.
Bose is a speaker. Dyson, and it's cordless, and you charge it, like it hangs on its charger, so you don't have to ever think about it. And so we have that Great Pyrenees. You probably, if you follow along with us, have seen him. His name is Marshall. He is huge. He's 100 pounds, and he has 100 pounds of fur. And so he just like discards it throughout the day. Anyway, we had this really crappy like handheld, like $20 Amazon one that Budget Pete bought a while back.
Did that.
And it couldn't even suck up a piece of hair. So I am freaking loving it.
It's powerful.
Oh my gosh. Anyway.
Makes great noises.
This is part of my like, what's that thing called? Nesting?
Yeah.
I'm the nesting. So like I use that thing every day. It goes really good on like the upholstery.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh my gosh. Anyway. Okay. That's my favorite product.
Discovery.
New Discovery.
Awesome. This past weekend, I took my boys with me up to Detroit to be at Northridge Church. And, I asked some people what we should do. I'm going to do something fun with them Saturday night. They said you should do fouling. I'm like, what's fouling? I think that's how you pronounce it. It's football and bowling mixed. It's the most amazing thing ever. So there's bowling pins, and you have two teams, and you take a football, and you throw it. You're like, I don't know, 25 yards away. Throw it to knock the bowling pins down.
I just feel like it'd be so much easier.
And whichever team it's much harder than bowling. Whichever team knocks the other pins down first wins. We loved it. My shoulder is still sore.
Does it have the same like scorekeeping as bowling?
No, it's just whoever knocks all the pins over first wins.
And you just take turns every other.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
I don't
such
know
a
why we
boy
don't
game.
have that in Nashville.
Yeah, you said that they're everywhere up in Michigan, but we haven't heard of that here.
I'm a fan.
My favorite new discovery, it's baby focused again. So if you know anybody that's having a baby, this is your segment for them. But anyways, it's called Tinyhood. It's a little, it's a course online. So amidst COVID, a lot of Lamaze classes had to stop, and like the in-person like birth training and all of that, which is just highly uncomfortable for me anyways. Like, I don't know that I would have done that. But this is a class, and it's a course, and you have to pay for it, but it's so worth it. And it walks you through like all the baby 101 stuff, like CPR and how to help a choking baby. And then also just like sleeping patterns and routines and how to get them on. Anyway, and then the one I haven't started yet because I'm so scared is the labor and delivery one where I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're going to do great.
I don't know.
It's going to be awesome.
But anyway, I thought that was a really cool. It's very modern.
I'm looking at the countdown up there on the wall we have towards the baby. You better get on it.
I know. We got 7.5 weeks or so. Craziness.
Less than that, really.
Probably 7 weeks. Yeah. Okay. That's our favorite things.
Yay. Okay. All right. So 5 ways to know it's time for a transition.
Yeah.
So first let me break this down. I think there's two different types of transitions.
Yeah.
Like in general categories, right? Two main categories. There's planned transitions and unplanned transitions. Unplanned transitions being things like you get fired, you get in a car accident, a loved one passes away. Unplanned, right? Nothing you can do about it. It's thrown onto you. Maybe we'll talk about that one day. But what I want to talk about are planned transitions. These are transitions where you have a choice. Like you can do something about it. And it's the third week in a row we've talked about getting stuck. We should have made this a series.
I know.
But this is where a lot of people get stuck because they can't pull the trigger on it. So again, this is a planned thing. This is something where the ball's in your court, right? So it could be buying and selling a house. It could be changing jobs. It could be getting married. It could be having a baby. It could be leaving for college. It could be a relocation. It could be retirement. Like there's tons of transitions in life that kind of fall under your court. And I know for a fact you don't like transitions. You don't like change.
No, I don't. I don't know why. It's not, it wasn't taught to me. It wasn't like displayed to me. But I really have, anytime I look back at like big moments in my life, it always is around a big transition. And some of the big moments in my life were because I didn't transition. Right. So like some of the, probably what I would say the most pivotal but also lowest moments of my life were when I got to the end of my wit because I just didn't transition in time. So yeah, I don't know. I've really struggled with it, whether it be like jobs or relationships or, moving somewhere, anything like that. It's just been, it paralyzes me.
Yeah.
It absolutely paralyzes me.
You're not alone. I think there's a lot of people that struggle with that. And I think a lot of us live tentative, kind of hesitant, really totally unaware of the strength and the power that we have to get so much more out of living, because we feel like we don't have that power, right?
Yeah.
And we feel like we're stuck. And the reality is most of us are not stuck, right? And don't wait until your life stinks to all of a sudden start paying attention to the signs that it's time for a change. It doesn't have to get to that place.
Right.
There's usually generally signs that come along that say, hey, it's probably time for you to be moving on, for you to make a change long before you get to that miserable place. And that's kind of what this podcast is about, right?
Yeah. And sometimes you are in that miserable place and you're scared to take the jump and the leap and all of that. Like, I think that's equally as common, whether you're like, my life's about to stink or my life does stink. Like I typically got into the situation where I was in the middle of it, like in the thick of it. And I think had I had these things top of mind, or had someone coaching me in that, I think I would have been able to have the confidence to make a decision earlier. But anyway.
Okay. So the 5 things, give them to us.
Okay. The first one is, am I honoring my values? And this doesn't align with every decision. Sometimes there's things that you don't really have to consider that in a high regard. But am I honoring my values for me is super relevant for a lot of the things that I did in transition. Like an example, relationally, like I was in a relationship with a guy who did not value family at all. In fact, he knew how much I valued my family and kind of tried to pull me away from them because I don't know if it was jealousy or what, but when I was in the middle of it, I was being convinced and almost like brainwashed in a way that I was in the wrong for valuing family. And when I finally got out of whatever that was and I made that quote unquote transition, I could see that I was not honoring a very important value to me. So that's just like a tiny example of one for honoring your values. Yeah,
that's good. I've seen this for me in my career because one of my values is passion. I have to be passionate about what I'm doing. It's because I think external motivators like money, titles, that kind of stuff, it may motivate you short term. Long term, it doesn't last, right? No. So passion is a huge motivator for me. So I have to be passionate about what I'm doing. And there have been times I've stayed too long in a particular job because there's this tension sometimes between passion and security. Yeah. And so, I also want to be secure. I want my family to be secure. And I want to provide for my family. So there's kind of this tug of war. But if I have to completely let go and don't honor that value of passion, then what could have been, and this is a phrase I use sometimes, when you stay too long somewhere in something, what could have been a graduation becomes a divorce. Like if you stay too long, guess what? The universe is going to hand you the transition. Yes. You're not going to choose it. It's going to happen to you, and it's not going to be a lot of fun. So what could have been a graduation, had you proactively made the transition, ends up becoming a divorce.
Right.
So don't stay too long.
Yeah, that's really good. And that's metaphorical. That's not relational.
Yeah, speaking. No, I'm talking about, in that case, I'm talking about a career, staying in a job too long.
No, that's really good. I think a career value thing is huge too and is super relevant. Number 2, am I holding back or being held back?
That's good.
That can apply to anything, honestly. I think for me, the biggest thing that I can think of is a past job career I had where I just hit a ceiling and I knew that there was nothing more for me there. And I stayed and stayed and stayed. Because I felt like, I don't want to disappoint my boss, or this is easy enough. Like I can pursue other things while I'm doing this and still get a good paycheck. But I was being held back and I was holding myself back, which really was everything else wasn't worth it. Like if I'm not growing and learning and, there's certain seasons, especially in your life where I feel like you're just super moldable and I just feel like I don't want to say wasted. I feel like I delayed a lot of potential and growth by staying because I was being held back and didn't take action.
Yeah. I think sometimes we forget that we have choices. Yeah. And, allow yourself to let go of people and situations and ideas and feelings that aren't conducive to your nourishment and to your growth. And if you're stuck somewhere in a situation, and I would say even in a relationship, if you feel stuck where someone is not, committed to your personal growth in the same way you're committed to your personal growth and giving you permission to grow and flourish, there needs to be a transition. And that doesn't always mean like a breakup and or a divorce.
No, yeah.
I think inside of a marriage, generally speaking, over the course of decades, you have multiple marriages inside of that one marriage. Yeah,
lots of seasons. Yeah.
Sometimes you need to call a timeout and say, we need a transition in this relationship. Yeah. This is not working the way it's going. Mm-hmm. And so I just think you got to remember you deserve to be appreciated. You deserve to be valued. And surrounding yourself with people who have that kind of constructive attitude towards you is just going to help you. And you have to realize that you're worth it being in a situation where you're not either holding back or being held back.
That's really good. I like that one. I think I struggle with that one. Struggle with this next one probably more. Number 3, am I staying only for the potential or what could be?
Ooh.
Yeah. This is where like the fixers and the savers of the world really struggle. And that's where I've always struggled. I feel like in a lot of things, but again, relationally in my past, thinking I could change somebody or thinking that, eventually I can just see the potential there. And listen, seeing potential in people is a beautiful thing. I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah, I have anything possible tattooed on my arm.
Yes, you do. But when you are staying in a circumstance that is not healthy or growing for you, just out of the hope, and you have no promises, you don't see necessarily the light at the end of the tunnel, like in a tangible way, it might be time to transition. I know that's a hard one because it feels noble to stay and to kind of hang in there because maybe they'll eventually see my worth here at this job and give me that raise. Yep. Maybe this boyfriend of mine is finally going to, love me.
Maybe this friend will stop getting drunk every time we hang out and
yeah, totally. It's exactly, that's it. To some degree, you have to let other people own their stuff and transition, whatever that means for you. But yeah, that's a hard one for me.
I put up an Instagram thing the other day that said 2 truths about change. Number 1, people can change. Yeah. Right. Again, true. Anything's possible. Yes. I believe that. But number 2, you can't change them.
Yeah.
So people can change, but you can't change them. Mm-hmm. You just can't.
You can walk alongside them. Yeah. You can support them. But yeah, you can't do the job.
One of the little pieces of dating advice we used to give people as they were getting more serious, or maybe it was like premarital counseling, is marry somebody for who they are today, not for who you hope they might become tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? That's not fair to you or to them.
Right. Yeah. The expectation on them is huge and maybe not true to them either.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really good. All right. Number 4, am I being honest? So am I being honest with myself? Am I being honest with those around me? So an example of this would be like, maybe you took a job and you moved to New York and you had to convince everybody it was going to be great. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, are you sure? Like you're making this decision fast. You go there, you love the idea of it. And then you get there and it's awful for you. Like it's not anything you thought it would be. And then you spend the next 6 months to a year convincing everyone else, oh no, I love it. I love, taking a taxi to work and everyone here, I've made such good community and you haven't, and you're just trying to convince yourself and convince others that it's a good thing. Same with relationships. This happens a lot in manipulative relationships where you're trying to convince yourself and the people around you, no, I promise he didn't mean it that way. She didn't mean it that way. Anything like that where where in your gut and your soul the truth and you're having to defend and maybe lie to yourself and others just to get through the day. That's
what's helped, since you don't like transitions and you're probably going to lie to yourself at times to kind of, try to convince yourself you're happy where you're at. What has helped you become more honest? Like, has it helped? Have you had friends or family members sit down with you and say, Jordyn, Open your eyes. Like what has helped you? What's been the breaking point for you where you finally stop lying to yourself?
Failure. I think having multiple experiences where I saw that come to fruition, I now I not only failure, but I have learned to like listen to people around me and trust that the people who love me dearly are only going to speak into my life truth that they see as consistent with my values. So, I think a good distinction here is sometimes you do have to convince yourself of something that's hard. Maybe it's out of your comfort zone. As long as it's aligning with your values, that's okay. Sometimes you have to give yourself a pep talk. Sometimes you have to be like, no, this is good. This is hard, but this is good. I am learning. I am doing all these things. Like finding, it's not that, you're not having to convince yourself of something, because I think that's a very realistic thing, but it has to align with your values and who you are and your character. So I think, to answer your question, just failing at it and realizing that it's not worth it. Like you think somehow lying about it in your heart is going to change it. Like somehow it'll just be birthed into existence by just believing it. But again, if it's just not aligning with you, it's not going to last.
Okay, good.
All right, number 5, my last one is there more to learn here? So if there's not more to learn, and that could be very practical, like with your job, or it can be relationally, it can be anything. But like if you're at a place where I have nothing to learn here. Like I've done all my growth, I've done and seen everything I can in this circumstance, then transition is hopefully impending. But that's my last one. Is there more to learn here?
That's really good. Can I add a 6th one to it?
Sure.
That I'm thinking about when I know it's time for a transition. I would say if you're asking why me more than you're asking what's next, it's probably time for a transition, because what's happened is you slipped into becoming a victim mentality. We've talked about this before. Once you're in that victim mentality, you're not going to win. You're not going to progress. You're not going to grow. You're not going to learn. I think at that point, it's definitely time for a change. Don't become a victim of the stories that you tell yourself. So when something doesn't turn out the way you expected it to go, instead of blaming someone else or blaming some kind of outside circumstance, I think it's often time to move on.
Yeah.
You have, and you've always had the power to change things, to do what needs to be done, to produce the results that you want. And so often we get stuck in these places in our life where we just grab this victim mentality as if we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And that this career is happening to us, this financial situation's happening to us, this relationship's happening to us. We didn't choose any. Yeah, actually, you chose all of them. You chose all those things. You chose all those circumstances. And so, again, it may not be your fault, but at some point you have to take responsibility. Can you hear that? I don't know if everybody else can, but our
Can
vacuum.
we talk about taking responsibility right now?
Yeah.
What did I ask you to do before we started this podcast?
I did.
No, you didn't. You didn't turn it off.
I did. It's sitting right there on the steps. It has to be turned off. It just all of a sudden came alive. They probably can't even hear it.
Our Roomba started talking to us. Anyways.
Yeah. As if because ironically, like 2 minutes ago, pressure washer man stopped. And it's so daggum silent, and then all of a sudden the vacuum cleaner starts talking to us. You know why? He's lonely because you have picked a new love, the Dyson, and the Roomba doesn't get any attention or love now, and so it chose to act out during the podcast.
One day we might be pros and have a studio, but until then, you guys are living in our home with us.
Yeah. Can I go back to that though?
Yes,
like you have always had the power to change things. And I think that's so important for all of us to realize you're not as stuck as you think you are.
Yeah.
There are moves, there are choices, there are things that can happen here. Not that necessarily change everything, right, about that circumstance, but can certainly change the way, like I was talking to a group of friends that I'm taking to a thing called Dream Year right now, where I'm coaching them for a year on their goals and dreams. And we talked this past month about the difference between looking at life or looking at goals and dreams through the obstacle lens or the opportunity lens. And when you look at it through the obstacle lens, you feel powerless. So I can't do this because of this. You're always making excuses. You're blaming. When you look at things through the opportunity lens, things begin to open up, right? And you start saying, oh, well, I could do this and I could do that. But it starts with like taking that ownership.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, I think a lot of these changes require baby steps, thinking through what those next steps would be. And especially if you're like anti-change like I am, I try to think through everything and you just can't. Like you have to know that that's not practical. You're never going to have all the answers before you take the leap. But life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I really, really believe that. And so I think it's just I hope that you feel encouraged and inspired to take that step, and whether it be small first little steps or one big leap. I know that we're about to engage in some of that, having a baby and like having to make some decisions in life that feel scary, but ultimately we know it aligns with our values, it aligns with goals that we have, and sometimes it's scary, but I hope that you guys feel encouraged to do something.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for being honest and vulnerable about the fact that you don't like transitions.
hate them. But yeah, no, I think it's something I'm learning to grow through, and it's helpful to have people who keep me accountable and push me. And you're one of those people, so thanks.
Yeah.
And now all the podcast people who are gonna now hold me accountable to
now they know
everything.
They all know.
But that was good. Good talk.
Yeah, thank you for the good talk, Jordyn. And hey, as always, if you're enjoying this podcast, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. You can also leave a review. If you leave a review, we'd love to send you a gift. It's 30 Days of Good. It's this little
digital journal
we put together. It's just kind of a daily thing that kind of gives you some journaling prompts, some inspiring thoughts, trying to get your day going in the right direction. So just write a review, take a picture of it, email it to us at info at
theplaceforgood.com.
Theplaceforgood.com.
Info at theplaceforgood.com.
And we'll send you that 30-day guide for sure. So we're on the home stretch with this baby.
Stretch for season 1 of our podcast. We'll be taking a little break this summer. Right. But we'll let you guys know when that's coming up. But you'll have to follow along with us on our socials when that starts, so that you don't miss out on all the baby stuff. I'm sure you just can't wait. No, y'all are like, we're done. We've heard enough about
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. All right, so until we talk to you next time, may the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May he show you his favor and give you his peace.